Thomas. Let him read Revelation 12 and forget.
Here comes the context monster. John would probably tell us that the woman in Revelation 12 isn't Mary for at least 3 reasons. First, the book itself is highly symbolic because it's apocalyptic literature, just like the book of Daniel, which contains all sorts of symbolism with corresponding realities, but isn't themselves one-to-one literal representatives. So when we come to a chapter like Revelation 12, we must remember that we're probably dealing with symbolism. Secondly, John is filling his apocalyptic literature with imagery that comes from the Old Testament. His use of numerology, the horseman, the bride of God, the new heavens and new earth, all of this is stuff that he's pulling from the Old Testament. That is, there's not even a hint that he's thinking of Mary throughout the whole book. That's why he never uses that name. So when we come to Revelation 12, we need to think for a minute, hey, what is the context of this symbolism in the Old Testament? So here's Revelation. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. Catholics will assume this is Mary because she gives birth to a child in Revelation 12. But this symbolism here, as well as a woman giving birth to a child, has already been used throughout the Old Testament to refer to someone else. If you look here at Genesis 37, this is Joseph's vision, and he says, "Behold, I've dreamed another dream. The sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me." So you have this same imagery here, the sun, the moon, and 12 stars. And up here you have the sun, the moon, and 12 stars, 11 bowing down to the 12th star, who is Joseph. In other words, the story that John is telling in Revelation 12 is taking the language used for Israel from the Old Testament to depict the people of God, not literally Mary. And John, of course, had precedence for doing this in Isaiah, who speaks of Israel as a barren woman, and God yet promises her she will bear children. The Old Testament is a much better guide for understanding John's point rather than what Catholics want it to mean. But this point becomes even more obvious when we recognize what's happening in the second half of the book of Revelation. In Revelation 12, to the end of the book, 2 women come on the scene. We have this first woman who gives birth to a child, the people of God giving birth to the Messiah. And the remainder of Revelation is about her conflict with another woman. In Revelation 17, John is carried away in the Spirit into a wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was full of blasphemous names, and it had 7 heads and 10 horns. And of course, you guys know from Revelation chapter 18, this is the Whore of Babylon. This is a city that depicts all of those who are in opposition to God. Because the entire book of Revelation is about the conflict between believers and unbelievers, which is depicted through a battle in heaven between Christ and Satan. And so the second half of John's vision gives attention to 2 women in conflict, namely the people of God who bring forth the Messiah, and then this Whore of Babylon. And by the end of the book of Revelation, the Whore of Babylon is defeated, and Christ marries his bride, who enters into the New Jerusalem with him forever and ever. I know. You trust the church fathers more than you trust me, some random ignorant Protestant. Well, here's Hippolytus. By the woman then, clothed with the sun, he meant most manifestly the church. That is, in the first couple centuries, we have this interpretation from the church fathers that this isn't a reference to Mary, this is a reference to the people of God. Specifically, he described Revelation 12 as depicting the persecution that Satan puts upon the church throughout the ages.